There is no minimum for tahajjud, except if you make tahajjud, it has to be 2 rak'ah minimum.
2 rak'ahs.
Yes, tahajjud or qiyam. As we mentioned before, the brother is engaged here, he's not available. But the issue he raises, we answered before several times, that Salatul Layl are 2 sections. All of it Salat Layl. Qiyam, which you do any time after Isha. Tahajjud is what you do at the third of the night. If the night is divided into 3/3, the third that is before the Fajr is when the Tahajjud time is. That's the difference. Well, when you read Al-Fatiha, the brother is asking, what is the right position for the arms during the recitation of Al-Fatiha? I take it, right? Okay. So, in the Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ put his right arm over his left. Okay? This is the position. In some narration, it says that he put his right hand on the top of his left hand. Okay? And both are put closer to his chest rather than his lower abdomen. You don't want to carry your belly in your hand. You want to put your hand in a position of submission. It's a different purpose here. Okay? Now, you're saying, but some people do it like this. Right? Some madhab allow this. It's not a big deal. So the question is, if you deposit money in the bank and on annual basis they give you some interest on your deposit, whether it's saving or anything else, the question is, can you take this money and give it to some poor? The answer is, the poor should be given clear, good money. Inna Allah tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. So what you need to do is to dispose of this money into what we call public service projects. And we gave examples for that before. Yes. Yeah, what is the ideal distance between the feet as we stand in prayer? It's the same distance between your 2 shoulders. Barakallah feek. Not more, not less. So what is the rule regarding somebody walking in front of somebody praying? The nahi in the hadith is on doing anything that disrupts somebody's prayer. Okay? What is disruption? Disruption is when a person wants to make ruku' and you are crossing in front of him and he cannot make ruku', that's disruption. Or if he wants to make sujood and he cannot because you're crossing in front of him. Okay? Imam Malik in particular doesn't mind, in his opinion, that you pass as close to the front of the person praying as you could without touching him, because if you touch him, it will be real disruption. Okay? But so long as you do not disturb or disrupt his next motion. Okay? The rest will make any crossing in front of the person praying as disruption. Okay? Yes. Well, Jesus didn't say, let me repeat the question first. The question is, I saw a bumper sticker on a car saying, Jesus is Lord, whether you believe it or not. And the question is, Allah will ask Jesus on the Day of Judgment, have you told your community or your followers or people in general to take you and or your mother as gods instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And he would say, no, I have not told them that. If I had said it, you have known it. But I cannot say what is not right for me to say. Okay? He doesn't tell Allah, forgive them. He tells Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك. if you put them to torment, they are your servants. وَإِن تَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ, and if you are to forgive them, فَإِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, you are the mighty one, the wise one. So he did not follow by, if you forgive them, you are the most merciful. It's different. It says you are the mighty one, which means nobody could force you not to give them mercy. It's up to you. So, does this answer your question, or what was your question? No, Isa did not make a recommendation. Isa told Allah, if you put them to punishment, it's up to you. They are your servants. If you were to forgive them, you are the mighty one and you are the exalted one, and nobody could force your hand. That's all what he says. Okay. Is there any minimum age restriction on marriage? The minimum age for girls is to be مميزة قادرة على تحمل أعباء الزواج. To be a person who has reached the age of awareness, okay, and she is capable of carrying the duties of marriage, okay. Definitely there's a cultural climate element that gets injected into this area, whereby you have people who grew up in certain environments. They are more prone to faster growth than others, and we see this in Africa and close to the equator areas, and we see less of that the more you get closer to one of the poles or farther away from the equator. So there is no statement in the Quran or the Hadith that says do not marry a girl until she is 8 or 9 or 10, as you seem to be asking. Not that I know of, anyway. If somebody knows something, you are welcome. If they both agree and the family sees that person as a fit person, there is no restriction on how old a husband could be or how old a wife could be. It is up to their ability to agree together and for the family to approve it. Who are the Mu'tazila? Okay. Mu'tazila is a group of early generations way after the Tabi'een that came in the Islamic history, and they have certain beliefs that they disagree with the major, what you could call mainstream Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay? They are people who grew up in the age of borrowing philosophy from other communities, from the Greek, from the Romans, from the Persians, from other sources, and using those as a foundation to argue Islamic theology. And that's why they shifted from the centric position of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We can get you the details of what do they believe, where do they differ. It really requires a whole lecture on the topic. But they do disagree on certain major Aqidah issues with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Excuse me? It's different from Shia. Yes. Can we use the credit card to cover the expenses of Umrah or Hajj expenses, provided that you have the cash to back it up when the bill comes? Otherwise, you will run interest on your credit card. And this is not a good way to make Hajj or Umrah or anything else.
Suppose you are in Mecca or Saudi.
Don't spend money on credit card that you don't have cash to cover it, because you will run the risk of riba. That's the answer. In the prayer, well, Most Muslim scholars would not disagree. The question is, can we put our hands up when we make dua in the prayer? And the answer is yes, you can. Other than Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Ismail, I personally do not know of any prophet who has visited Kaaba, because all the prophets that came outside of those three, they came for different communities at different areas. And when we say areas in those days, it's not a 1 hour flight between any place and another place. We're talking about months of travel. So for prophets to have come there, I do not know of any prophet who has visited Kaaba except Adam, who built it in the beginning, Ibrahim, his son Ismail, and his descendant Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, Hajj was not made until Prophet Ibrahim was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. So between these two times, there were no messengers or prophets in this area. They all came from the Israelite lineage of prophets to certain communities. This is where they preached, this is where they lived, and this is where they died. Well, the word An-Nas in the Quran could be the entire humanity and could be a specific community. It is like the Arabic language allows for using the plural to mean an individual, or an individual to refer to the plural or the name of the species or the group. So it is not necessarily the absolute meaning of An-Nas. Okay? Can the son make the Hajj before his parents? Yes, he can. If he has the means and they don't have the means and he wants to use his money to make Hajj, he can. Yes, yes. Is in debt and he wants to make Hajj. Yeah, we answer this question almost every night, but it doesn't hurt since it is there. We said that if you have debt, that the expenses of Hajj could pay it, or pay the large portion of it, then pay your debt. Second, if your debt is lifelong debt, like mortgage, somebody was asking about this a couple of nights ago, then if you have savings that can take you to Hajj, you must go for Hajj, because that debt is deferred long-term debt. But immediately due debts, you need to pay them before you go to Hajj. Like the debt of your credit card, the debt of your neighbor, your father, your relative, your friend. These debts, unless the person who gave you the loan can forgive you for using the money to go for Hajj while he is waiting to be paid.
Same thing for the car loan? Yes.
Same thing for the car loan. The car loan is a long-term loan, and what applies to the mortgage, it applies to the car loan. Okay, I think now we will finish. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.